Now, how did I get out of poverty? I eventually got to high school because other people then set up systems that allowed me, and somebody along the way, every step of my life, someone helped me, and I had no way. Now, let me tell you, that's the secret. You will never do anything of consequence on your own. That's just the way it is.
Why knowledge matters. Welcome, I'm Yanik, your host, and now joining me, Isaac Goodine from the capital of Canada, Ottawa. And next to me, Dr. Monjur Chowdhury, who will also guide through us, our co-host, to discuss Isaac Goodine's life quickly, and then we talk a little bit more specific about longevity, because Isaac Goodine is truly an example how to live a healthy and happy life. Welcome, Isaac. I'm so pleased to have you finally on the show. We had the privilege, myself too, and obviously you are a dear friend of Dr. Monjur, to actually meet you in person. So welcome, Isaac. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, and glad to see my old friend Monjur with you, and my new old friend Yanik. And that's how I've lived my life. I've made new friends and kept old friends.
And some maybe not. Some you might not have kept, right?
That's right. Some not exactly by my choice, and some that I did not wish to keep. It's a long story, but very briefly, I will try to be brief. I've only lived up to now 91 years, and I did not go to the gym this morning because I will go later, because I wanted to get ready for this session, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. And you've given me permission to tell you my secrets, and then they will not be secret any longer. Actually, they are not secret. They are things that I've learned over the years, and I've had, as I say, I will try to be brief to give you an overcap of why you invited me to come on this session. First, I am a depression baby, a child of the Great Depression in Canada, which means that, and I was very poor, maybe extra poor in the sense that my parents lost the family farm 2 years before I was born. So I grew up, my first, say, decade and a half, we were really poor. And so we know the problems that go with poverty. And I eventually got out of that situation. And here's how I now recall how I got out of it. My mother taught me to read. She taught me something else as well. She, as a Christian, in fact, as a Catholic, she taught me the catechism, the Christian catechism. Okay, so that gave me a spiritual and religious start as well. But the most important thing that she left with me, besides that, of course, is that she taught me to read. And somewhere along the way, passed the message that once you can read, you have access to persons living or dead. That's important. Persons living or dead. And then she also said, well, more or less, get on your way. Now, how did I get out of poverty? Well, once I learned to read. I became the first male child in my rural area, in quite a large district, to go beyond the 8th grade in a one-room school. Now, one-room schools in those days, today, they would not be regarded as very effective. However, you learn everything because I repeated grade 1 8 times. I repeated grade, and by the time I got to grade 5, I'm a teacher because I'm helping the teacher to teach the younger ones. So that's how it worked, right? And so now, how did I get out of poverty? I eventually got to high school because other people then set up systems that allowed me, and somebody along the way, every step of my life, someone helped me, and I had no way. Now, let me tell you, that's the secret. You will never do anything of consequence on your own. That's just the way it is. So we need people to help. And I now have come to understand what one of my old friends who died recently, called Bob Proctor, who is a trainer. I think Monjur knows something about Bob Proctor, but he taught me, he's the best one to teach what does he call it? Oh, yes, the law of attraction. And so the law of attraction is the only way. Now, he's the best teacher on that, but he's dead. So I have his videos, but not only that, I can now teach it even better than he can because I can add to it. And I use examples. What's an example? Monjur. Monjur, how did you meet me? Interesting, isn't it? Monjur might recall, it's a long time ago. And we were at some session, something going on, which was of interest to both of us. And he said something, and I went up and spoke to him afterward. And we have been in contact ever since. Now, no one introduced us, right? But he had something that rang a bell. Now, that's, if you look back on your life, that's how you met Monjur. I don't know how you met, right? You met at work or whatever. However, how did you get to that? It's because you have a common interest. Now, that's a very short way of saying that's the law of attraction. So here, if you can see this now, if you can put me on the screen, I will show you the T-shirt that I am wearing. And this is this is my workshop T-shirt. And I will, okay, let me know if you can see it. Anyway, it's kind of irrelevant, but what this is it's the tree of life, actually. And everything on this side is positive, everything on this side is negative. Every person that I have met tends to be a little bit on the negative, a little bit on the positive, and some completely on the negative, and others completely on the positive. So that's how we all go through life. So this is what we're talking about. My secret is,
I'm sorry, just lower your camera a little bit again so that you're on screen fully. Okay. No,
okay.
Back, because we don't see your face anymore. No, just correct it again.
Yeah,
yes, almost. Yeah.
This is right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just.
Yeah, but just a little bit more, because again, it's cut your thing. Just so you have a little bit. Yeah, just lower. No, a little bit higher your camera, please. Yeah, good, very good.
Okay, so this is just an aid. I also have, when I do workshops, I leave people with printed things, so printings, handouts, let's say, just as a memory aid. But the memory aid is what's there. Now I'm going to put on another one of my paraphernalia, as I call it, right? Briefly. And if you just bear with me, I'll be back in a second. I have my Can you see this one now?
Yeah.
No, I might have to move it.
No, it's okay. Just leave it like
this. This is Maritime Intercollegiate Track and Field Championship. Wow. 1956, 1960. I can still wear these jackets. In fact, I have many medals in track and field. I used to say, maybe 10 years ago, I used to say I was an athlete. Today I'm wearing this to say to you and Monjur, and to anyone else who cares to get this message, I am an athlete. I don't pole vault. Now, if you know, the pole vault is a pretty complicated athletic endeavor, right? But I did pole vault. I know how to do it. I could teach Monjur to pole vault. I'm not recommending it. Anyhow, so what I'm saying is, this is to indicate to you my approach and my success at longevity. In other words, when I became a top athlete, shall we say, a good athlete. In fact, the best in my high school at age 16. And I've never really given up looking after my personal physical health. Now, physical health is absolutely key. Why? Because what I'm doing when I go to my gym, which is around the corner from me in the morning, and I say to my young colleagues there, some of them are fitter than I am, I must say. I'm saying, I'm here, I'm on the treadmill, I'm doing these exercises on the machines and so on. I'm really, really working on my brain. Now, that is not a joke, because we now know, and up until about 10 years ago, it was not scientifically known or accepted that the brain is exactly like our muscles. Wonderful. You want to read up on it? There's a book called Spark. Spark is the great book, and it says, we can create new brain cells just as we create new muscle cells. And we use the same things to do it, which means physical exercise, right? In the right proportions and the right quantity, right? Overdoing it doesn't help. Underdoing it doesn't help. And my wife is a Tai Chi teacher. You know, that's the ancient Chinese art of Tai Chi. It's all about balance. And as she says from time to time, yeah, it's a physical exercise, but truly it's a mental exercise. So what she says, and what I have learned along the way, is that by doing these exercises regularly and constantly, we create memory, not only in the brain. So listen, if you start losing some of your brain cells, and you're losing your memory, so what? Your muscles, we have actual muscle memory. And when you go out to do exercise now, I remember how I did it when I was 16 years old. Amazing. My muscles remember it. So that's it. So that's the value of physical exercise. Now I skip ahead a little bit. And over the years, my career, you will not believe, so I won't bother you with it. I do believe that both of you now have an electronic copy of my book, Leaders Leading Leaders. It's a fantastic book. And I do say, just because my name is on the cover of a book does not mean I wrote a book by myself. Check the names of the people in that book. Those are really, really competent people. They are the people who have made our world what it is, the modern world. They are. Now, not all of them, but every single person in that book, I can tell you, has really, really something to offer. And what a wonderful thing that I discovered by meeting people like Monjur and people like yourself. Now, Monjur is one of the people. I think you would not be talking to me, or I would not be talking to you, except for Monjur's link, right? So that's what I'm saying. We create our networks, the good ones and the bad ones. Now, some you really, really have to struggle to avoid. Remember the negative side and the positive side. Yeah. Now, in this day and age, a lot of people are using the same technology that we are using right here and now to do really, really bad stuff. And there is a struggle right now. And it's always been a race between good and evil. But right now, it's very, very important. I think I've said this to Monjur before. I may not have had an opportunity to say it to you. The next time you're in Ottawa, just as a matter of interest, go to the Library of Archives and see that there's a statue there, which has not been torn down yet, right? Because don't forget, we are tearing down statues now. we are trying to destroy our past. Well, some of it should, some of it good, yeah. So, but what we are also doing is, so there's a statue of Sir Arthur Dougherty. I've used the quotation many, many times, right? And the plaque says, listen carefully, of all national assets, archives are our most precious. They are the gift of one generation to another. And the extent to which we respect and use our archives is a measure of our civilization. Now, that's Sir Arthur Dougherty. I've put a caveat on this one for the modern day. Without archives, we have no civilization. Listen carefully. We are now involved in increasing our population rapidly for the first time in a long time now through what? Immigration. I offhand, I don't remember the year, but it's just around the corner when the majority of Canadians, and by the way, including voting Canadians, will be foreign born. If we do not pass on our civilization through our archives, who is going to do it? And then people will think Canada was always this bad, right? So there's been good and bad in our past. Now, how do we get out of that? Back to what my mother taught me and what I learned by working with competent people in organizations like the World Bank, like Multilateral Development Bank, like UNESCO, and by the way, living and working in developing countries. There are 5, that's not very many, real serious manifestations of evil. So that support all the others. Since I'm getting older, my memory is fading. I stick to 5 because it's easier to remember. Here they are. Poverty, abject poverty, supports them. Doesn't create it, but supports them. But the first thing it supports, poverty, is illiteracy. Illiteracy. That's a manifestation of evil. Why? Because if you are poor and illiterate, you will be subject to ignorance. Now, when I was poor and my mother had not taught me to read, I was stuck. And that leads to, guess what? Hopelessness. I can tell you, since I said I'm the only male child who got beyond grade school, not even grade school, just grade 8. Other people never got. Now, it doesn't mean they all, ended up with terrible lives, but they did not get to visit and to learn the beauty of learning. Like Monjur loves learning. Right? My love of learning allowed me to use it effectively to overcome my own hopelessness. And I have spent almost my working lifetime working for organizations like the World Bank, whose total work is to address poverty, alleviate poverty through these things. And if you can overcome the hopelessness, you will then overcome the fear. And then there's no need for wars, whether they're tribal wars, international wars. There's simply no need for war if you don't fear the people who are across your border, or if you don't fear the other people. So those are the evil things that we're working on.
Now, just a quick question. So this is really brilliant. But one thing also you mentioned, actually, we quote you a lot when we discuss, things about, the world, and specifically about learning and how to develop actually a sound human being. And one of your quote, I really love that because it really shows that adversity equals opportunity, and in fact that adversity is the only thing actually that makes us do anything, to make us want to better our lives, to start improving ourselves, and by doing so, by also helping others and our communities to actually improve. And you, and I quote you, you always say, born poor, brilliant. Please explain and go a little bit more in depth what this meant to you and how it forged the person that you became today. Because with 91, I can testify that you are incredibly still in shape. You work out, as you say, you still go to the gym, and you just do what is required in order to live the good life. And the fact is today that most people, even though we have this wealth, do not live the good life. But you are a testimony that by knowing something, you also have to do it and actually implement it, And I think that's always the gap. It's always between, the knowing, the conception that we have. We know all that we have to eat healthy food, right? To stay healthy. But how many people, Isaac, really eat healthy? Really? There's so few people actually do that. Or in so many other ways, there's so many other examples, right? So please talk us a little bit first about like born poor, brilliant, your quote, and then help our people basically to implement, what you have done, specifically done, what people can do in order to live the good life.
Yeah, you've changed a couple of words, maybe even better words. Let me just backtrack a little bit. I think I've mentioned, I believe that both of you now have my book on leadership, and you have it electronically. Now that's a new development, very, very new for me as well, right? I've just recently made that available. I have another little book here, which I think Monjur might recognize. Can you see this, Monjur? The little book which says It Works. This is now available online or electronically as well. Marvelous development with the new technology, which we've been struggling with today a little bit, right? But let's struggle with it and get through it. And then put it to good use, and to the extent that we can counter. Now that means that shortly, by the way, I have a website, which I think probably you maybe...
We will put the link so our viewers can actually go and...
That website gives you lead into a lot of things. I'm not sure where you picked up the one about born poor, brilliant, you said. I might change it. Well, it's too late. I published it under the title, Born Poor, Marvelous. Now, you have to read it to understand what I'm getting at. I was born poor, and I took the title from Napoleon Hill. I think Monjur knows something about Napoleon Hill through Bob Proctor and so on. Now, Napoleon Hill is the philosopher who started a lot of this way back. His books are now available. And if you want a copy, well, you will need a copy if you're going to pursue this, right? And he wrote several books, but the last one is Born Rich, Marvelous. Sorry, no.
Born Poor.
Born Poor. No, okay. Let's come back to that. Let's finish the Born Poor one. He did right because he was born poor, like me, right? Very poor, and became very rich. And so he wrote about how that was accomplished, right? In depth. Okay. So in my case, how I got out of poverty is I was stimulated because of my situation. I could see what's going on, even from my perspective in a very remote area in Canada, because somehow or other, the messages were getting through my church and through my father, who is Irish, and he sang so many Irish songs because the Irish are, the ultimate of poverty and all that. So when we look at that, so what it means is I had nowhere to go except up. And I had no way to get there except find people who will help me. And whether it happens or not, I wrote another article one time, which has also been published, and it's about how I lived um, in a matrix. And in my matrix, which is it's as if Shakespeare said, the world's a stage and we are players on it. Right? So you and Monjur are players on the world stage. You have been given a script. You've been given many scripts to play. That's what happened to me. And when you play one script, it gives you opportunity for another one. All the actors do that. Now, some actors get stuck with one script and they can only become method actors or whatever. But some actors can take, oh, I can play that role. I can play this role. My role, I've played many, many roles. Right? And you play one role, learn to do it well, and that will lead you to give you the opportunity to find another. Now, Bob Proctor and I will say the law of attraction says you play a good role and you get nominated for the Academy Award, but you don't succeed, you don't get the Academy Award, you're not a loser, right? Someone's going to notice you and maybe give you another script. But when you get to a certain stage, something in our society creeps in. And that something in our society creeps in is very, very, very real. And it's called ageism. And ageism says that you're wasting your time talking to me today because I have passed my, best before date. Now, some people say that was when I turned 65. Wait until you find out what I've done since 65. However, but for those people who say that at age 65, I am personally finished, and that's absolutely true. And that happens. What about the other people? The younger people who don't have the experience yet. They have a lot to offer at whatever age, but because of ageism, we cut them off. Let's say 25. So people under 25 who might be brilliant, nobody listens to. So here's my issue right now. I'm a member of the International Council on Active Aging. Why? Because with more than 10,000 members worldwide of people who have created an industry. Now, I didn't create that industry. The leader of this pack, shall we say, claims that he's been personally very much involved in creating an industry in Canada. No, not in Canada, worldwide, because the membership is worldwide. The industry is the aging industry. Think about it. Think about where I live in Ottawa, and where Ottawa is now the collecting place for people retiring from the who are members of the Federal Public Retirees Association, of which both my wife and I belong. And we are members of the fastest growing demography in Ottawa. Why? Because the retirees of, listen to this one, Army, of which I am, diplomacy, of which I am, and RCMP, which I am not, but we're the same group, and what's the other one? Federal public servants, judges, and all those people. Now, that's a pretty confident group. And by the way, they're all retiring, I shouldn't say all, but in masses, they're retiring now. And because we have a Canada-wide membership, not only Canada-wide, but I think 40% of the federal retirees are retiring in the catchment area of Ottawa, Kingston, and so on.
It is absolutely amazing. Now, Isaac, because due to time restraints, we have to move a little bit forward. And I just want to give the ball to Dr. Monjur's hand, because you raise a very important question, which I can really not understand. You know, like, especially for young people, for example, for myself, I'm so fortunate that I have a lot of people who are much older than myself, you know, that are, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and it just enriches my life tremendously. And what is also so amazing is that I can learn and not repeat the same mistakes, you know. So it accelerates my growth, my quality of life, and everything basically. So I just want to touch on that, Dr. Monjur, a little bit about like this ageism, you know, which I find so problematic. It doesn't make any sense, you know, because one of the biggest pleasure to me is talking to people like Isaac, you know, or to yourself, right? Because you have the experience, right? It's truly inspiring, you know. And yeah, so what is your point on this ageism, and why is it so prevalent in our society, which really doesn't make sense?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm careful about timing because we have so much to share, and we'll be continuing this.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
thank you very
absolutely.
much, Yannick. And I'm jealous of you, by the way. You are jealous of us. I am jealous of you, Yannick, because you are a young man. And the time that you are passing, at that time, I did not even think about age and other things, never. And I did not have the opportunity to share the challenges that we younger people then that time what we are going through with the senior people. That was not. Now, because of people like Isaac, you see, that they are doing the amazing thing for people who are beyond 60 years old,
Yeah,
right? So
even for young people, right? Yeah.
of course, it is ultimately everybody is going to be be senior. This is how it
Exactly,
works.
exactly.
So what I feel that first of all, I appreciate both of you for arranging this an amazing topic. This is for each of us we need, and why I'm attracted, as Isaac said, the law of attraction. I being an engineer and I have my background of science, both Isaac also has a physics background, so we understand in the language of physics what is vibration, right? And when it is human, I'm amazed with Bob Proctor's work, that how his educational, I mean, so-called degrees are not like many of us, right? He did not finish his university, but how he was able to understand physics, biology, chemistry, those all things is clear to his uh, vast work that he has done. So I want to go appreciate this aging thing that we are talking about, and I'm glad that in Ottawa, by the way, my friends, even our business partner of Live Educations, they have organized a senior club, and people from diverse community. This is very important, the different culture, and this is what to answer your question, that most of us, and Isaac knows this better, especially people who are more than 70 years, 80 years older, they do not have any clue that there is a life, and wonderful life. They call it golden age. It is just that they know
Mm.
by name. But how to enjoy this? This is the live example, Isaac.
Absolutely. And now really want to know, because we are really running out of time.
Yeah.
So what is the secret? Give us one advice that people can do in order to healthy and happy aging.
Yeah, one advice, yes, because of timing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, those who can should participate in some of the sessions that my wife teaches. She teaches us as Tai Chi. She also includes some Qigong and so on, which is the ancient Chinese. Because my wife was born in Shanghai, but she grew up in Hong Kong, and she is British by parentage, because in the old days, her grandfathers were English and her grandmothers were Chinese. So she's that link. So I am personally, because of the people who shaped my my life and my life's work, I'm just intercultural, period, right? And so now, what about this ageism thing? Well, let's look back a few years and how it developed and so on. However it developed, it's there, and it is so real and very, very real. How to overcome that? Let me just mention a couple of experiences that I had with people who were 30 years my senior. Right? To do that, I have to flip back a long time ago now. And my real mentor and the person who really shaped my international career is Dr. Ross Ford. And I met Dr. Ross Ford, he's 30 years my senior, okay? And so we became almost like brothers, right? Mentally, right? And he was very active. So he retired, having served an extra year because of...
That's why knowledge matters. Make your life a master. Visit now programs.e-ykm.com.